Are there no elders in this land that can tell the younger generation what's happened in the past that has repeated more than once, that's about to happen again if we proceed in the direction of election under a disputed constitution? Are there no persons that are at least 75 years old who will be adults of 15 years deep into secondary school as at the May 29th of 1962, when the constitution of the Western region was unilaterally suspended unconstitutionally by the government of the time, leading to a chain of events. Sole administrator appointed, Dr. Majeko Domi for Western region. At a time, Awolowo was being dragged to prison for winning the independence election. And in that suspension of the Constitution of Western region, the three constitutions by which Nigeria federated at independence in 1960 got into a spin. The union collapsed. Nigeria was stillborn on account of that stretch of incidents. And elections then came in 1963 to meet that unsettled constitutional situation. And the politicians went on refusing to solve the constitutional dispute. And we landed in all the things 64, 65, Wild West to January of 66. And we fell into the ditch that became the Civil War. It cost 3.5 million lives to bring things back to some stability in 1970. We carried on. Then came 93. Instead of settling the constitutional dispute, the constitution by which we could go back to being a federation, we went on to election. Abiola the good man, Abiola the competent man. Everybody voted from everywhere, including at the base of his opponent, Tofa. He won the election by landslide. What was it that swallowed Abiola's mandate with all the multitude from across the length and breadth of Nigeria? He was competent. He was a very good-hearted man. He even won the election. What was it that was bigger than the people of Nigeria that swallowed that mandate? Have we recovered from the consequences of that, because we ended up in 1999 with a bogus democracy that has now brought the Fulani, who imposed the situation on everybody, into power, and the invasion we see now? So again, we're heading to exactly the same cycle of events. 2023 election is being advertised when the constitution is on fire. If we recovered from the one of 1963 and we recover from the one of 1993, at great blood cost, Abiola's life had to be thrown in. All the people killed between that time and now still part of the blood cost, and the infrastructure that had gotten decayed, and the economy that has collapsed, and the poverty that has become exemplary. 30-year cycles. 63, 93, and we're talking about 2023. And so, the reason we're making this broadcast, we want to address the young people who are investing their hope in vote under an untenable constitutional arrangement, hoping that a good man, a competent man, will become president and all the problems will go away. Misdiagnosis that will lead to catastrophe for the patient. And here there are two patients: Nigeria that died before and the Nigerians that are dying now. Nigeria died long time ago. Nigeria, the federation. The people dying now are the Nigerians who are trapped in the carcass of that Nigeria. I think in order to get it in perspective, so that we can see, we have a window into the thinking of the young people who are operating in this misdiagnosis. There's a video, an interview of Mr. Delogun in the UK, in which a young person was telling him what went wrong with Nigeria. I would think that that young man in that interview, represents the thoughts of the current young people who are pursuing after PVC with all their might, having cited a good man, a competent man, P2B. I think we should look at that video so that we can come back to what we need to know in order to avoid the catastrophe that is racing towards us.
Julius Caesar has a line which says, "There is a tide in the events of men, which, if taken at the flood, leads on to fortune." And I remembered that when I saw the title of the book, The Missed Road to the Promised Land, i.e., there was a way to get to the promised land. Like, some kind of promised land exists somewhere. Obviously, it's been missed. And I think it's pretty clear reading the book that when you take the right decision at the right time, it can push you in the right direction. If you need to get a train somewhere that comes once an hour, if you miss that train, you're going to be at least an hour late, and longer if you have to get other connections and so on and so forth. So is there a single point that you can point to as the point that Nigerians themselves more so missed that road? For me, it's 1993. And how now can we get to the promised land?
For me, it's 1993 to 1999.
Okay.
And if I had to pinpoint it, it would be the 1999 so-called elections.
Obasanjo.
Yeah. Why? Because we had them on the back foot at that point. And the position that had been taken by the Movement for National Reformation that was led by Chief Anthony Anaho and the pro-NACO groups, pro-National Conference, that's what it stood for. The position that they had taken was that we're not going to participate in any elections until we see the Constitution.
Right.
That was the line that everybody has been asked to hold. But again, because they're always flawed characters, if the principled ones take a stand, they're always flawed characters that are available that you can then approach, that the establishment can approach, to say, never mind those ones, you come with us. And those flawed characters, they broke the ranks. They agreed to participate in that 1999 election without seeing the Constitution.
That's it. That's a big one.
Because they needed, democracy needs legitimization by the people coming out and participating. The ultimate power that the people have is say, we're not coming. We're not going to participate. And at that point, we had the opportunity of securing a new constitutional settlement along the lines of the Orange Union. But we missed that opportunity. It was traded in And the ultimate beneficiaries were the Obasanjos who got the appearance of power because they were now enjoying themselves as president and all the other hangers-on. But that was a key mystery. And we're back there again now because the 1999 Constitution is now widely acknowledged as a fraud.
Right, it is.
It contains the declaration, we the people give ourselves this constitution. But it's a bit like those treaties of protection that we started with, drafted by one side and just imposed. Nobody knows who drafted the 1999 Constitution. So it was a diktat. It has now crashed once more. And we're now at that point of a fresh start. So we're back to the crossroads once more. And it then becomes an issue of, are we going to go for the shortcut, the cheap solution? Or are we going to stand our ground and say, this needs to be dealt with once and for all?
Okay.
Yes, what we need to note in this 4 minutes clip I just played is that the question was, where did Nigeria miss its way? Now that we're searching for how to get back on the way to El Dorado, on the way to paradise, great Nigeria. The young man, I don't know his name, but he was so certain, he knew that it was in failing to allow Abiola, the good man, the competent man, who was embraced by the whole country, to emerge as president in 1993. He was very sure that that was where Nigeria lost its way. But his guest, Delogun, knew much better. And he said, no, that it wasn't in 93 that we fell into this ditch, that we got into this highway to calamity. That was in 99. Of course, 99 came as the culmination of the series of events that 93 ignited. So in 99 we ended up going to election. Let's mark this because we're about to repeat, we're about to fall into that one ditch the second time. In 99, according to Delogun, you just heard him, and he's in a position to know because he was involved. Nadeko, Enohoro, and all those who went to contest the election in 1999 from the fold of Nadeko, including Tinubu. Delogun says that it was because, if we were to pinpoint in all that period between 93 and 99, that it was in 99 that we went into election without settling the constitutional arrangement by which that democracy would be operated. That was how we got on the pathway to the disaster we are in now. And so, to interpret it further, many of us have heard from us, even the young man in the video did say that yes, the Constitution is the problem. If the Constitution is the problem, and we have had similar problems in the past where we went into election without addressing that constitutional, impairment, some kind of something that is broken, a broken down constitutional arrangement. That was what happened to us in the electoral cycle of 63, 64, that became Wild Wild West. If the politicians of the time had listened to some of the voices of reason to first restore the constitutional arrangements before proceeding to another election, we wouldn't have had 1966, January 15. In the one of 93, Abiola won the election. Ibrahim Bangida and whoever was working with him nullified the election, annulled the election, so they called it. Then there was an engagement with Abiola by the group that eventually called itself NADECO. It was a coming together of the civil society and all kinds of forces. He sat down with Abiola, said, see where we're coming from. The reason they're able to do this now is because there's some over-centralization of power, that somebody can sit in one place and overrule the masses of Nigeria. So, will you agree with us that if we fight together and recover this mandate, you are going to rework the constitutional basis of Nigeria as basis of governance? Abiola signed up. I can report on that because I happen to be in the wider circle of where that foundational agreement was reached with Abiola. So it was, Abiola said that even if that was all he achieved, to rework that damaged constitutional foundation, that would have been enough for all the trouble for contesting the election at all. So it became the mandate, it became the definition of that cooperation called NADECO, to get the soldiers out of the way so that Abiola could assume his mandate and go to work. He wouldn't have gone into govern with this kind of the constitution that was imposed in 1979, because that's the one that the Bangida, of course, had altered it here and there after his conference of 1985. But by and large, it is this same unitary constitution that Abiola will have been governing with, but he committed to changing it. That was his principal offense. For those who are wondering what Abiola did wrong, it was because he committed to changing that constitution before he began to govern. If his mandate is recovered by the mechanism of the fight that was put up, at the end of the day, they killed him. And in order to appease the Yoruba who were threatening to leave the union at that point, his kinsman from Abeokuta, called Olusegun Obasanjo, was taken from prison, rehabilitated and coronated basically as president. But the decision of NADECO, in one of the last meetings they held at the time Abacha passed on, to say, let us now, because that was what Abiola, that was the summary of the sacrifice of Abiola, to revisit and rework the constitutional basis of Nigeria such that we could have a federation one more time. Some of the people who agreed that NADECO will not plunge into electioneering on the basis of the constitution that except the constitutional arrangements are reworked. Some of the NADECO members broke ranks and jumped into, of course, the system threw up a whole number of other people, and all of them, the same thing we are doing now, gathering people to go to election instead of solving the big problem. They went to that election. Bola Tinubu became governor of Lagos from that circle of NADECO that went to contest the election without fixing the foundation. There are a whole number of other people. Of course, the military, the soldiers also had their own fronts. You remember Abacha and the 5 leprous fingers. All the people who were doing all those things for Abacha became the ones who now midwifed what became PDP that will go to election, and AD that had produced the Farah. So we got into this mess because we now continued our democracy on the basis of the unitary constitution imposed since 1979. That's how we got to this mess. And so, with all of what has been done since that time, to open our eyes to all the contents of that bad arrangement that are directly responsible for everything we lament now, the killings that are going on, the broken down infrastructure, the economic quagmire we are in. We've become the global capital for poverty. Everything that could go wrong has gone wrong. We know that the source of that entire thing, like the tap from which all the evils flow, the corruption that has grown out of control, the impunity that has grown like a monster, the value system that is now upside down, everything is flowing from that constitution. The loss of faith in the union by those who now say they are fed up, they want to go form countries of their own. In the eastern part, it's called Biafra. The Niger Delta that is boiling with agitation for resource control, it hasn't gone away. Don't mind the fact that the guns may be silent at this moment. The Yoruba that are all over the place saying they are fed up. All those things are flowing from abnormal laws, constitutional arrangements. And in the midst of all of what we have done, Ninas now, and all of, because it was from Nadeco, it was the unfinished business of Nadeco that Pronaco came to do. It was, we remember, Enohoro was head of the Nadeco, Enohoro, chief convener of Pronaco, Shoyinka, Pronaco, Ndubisi Kano, and all the other ones in between. Ojukwu hosted the plenary sessions in Enugu in terms of chairing the Pronaco plenary. Nyanwodo moderated that plenary. Shoyinka was present, Enohoro was present. They were all the groups who had taken up arms. Ashari, Azurike, OPC, everybody was persuaded to come. And that was what was required to take Nigeria back to being a federation so that we can have something to build democracy on. Only the government stayed away. Obasanjo and the government he was leading at the time, they decided they could do it by brigandage. He even went on broadcast to say that we were committing treason. And so, where we are now is that we have plugged our ears. We have blocked our reasoning away, and we are going to another election under the constitution that is on fire, under the constitution that has been repudiated by the solemn assemblies of the constituent components of Nigeria. The people that imposed Sharia have seceded, they have repudiated your constitution and therefore imposed Sharia in open negation of that constitution as section 10 that forbids such. They've gone their way. In the eastern side, on the 27th of April in 2015, the peoples of the lower Niger, that is the south, south and southeast or midwest and old eastern region, coming together as nationalities, Ijo, Ogoni, Anang, Efik, Igbo, Robo, all of them in those 11 states came together to repudiate that constitution and inform the global community they will not be willing to proceed on the basis of that constitution. On the 7th of September in 2017 at Adama Sembra Stadium in Ibadan, the Yoruba again came, their governors were all present, their traditional rulers were all present, and all kinds of political leaders. They repudiated that constitution and told the global community Yoruba will no longer be willing to submit its sovereignty to that fraud of 1999. On the 18th of July in 2018, the same thing happened in Makurdi. And so, as you see this map, the basis of what Ninas is doing, because it was all that process from Pronaco to the MNN that went to court in 2007, to begin the formal engagement to terminate the operation of that fraud of 99, called the 1999 Constitution imposed by Absalom Abaka, progressively through to the point where these three blocks in the alliance had repudiated that constitution. to the Freedom Park proclamation of December 11 in 2018, by which the global community was notified that the owners of Nigeria were now heading to their self-determination upon the failure of their federation. The constitutional force majeure of December 16, 2020 was the commencement of the enforcement of this consensus, because we now have a consensus amongst ourselves, Nigerian Indigenous Nationalities Alliance for Self-Determination. The 1999 Constitution was imposed in negation of our self-determination. The 1999 Constitution was imposed in defiance of our sovereignty and self-determination. And so the owners of the land are now in the process of dismantling, pulling back their signature from that instrument to dismantle the union of death foisted on them by that instrument. The 30-year cycle, the reason we are calling out the elders to speak up to the young people is that they should be in a position to tell the young people that what went wrong, what we must fix now, is not about the good man. Awolowo was good man, competent man. Something swallowed the victory he had at the independence election. The record is too clear to go back to. Abiola was good man, competent, won election. Something swallowed it. If with these two experiences and the blood costs and the general costs, what has brought Nigeria to this sorry state is that if we leave all of that as if nobody knew, nobody has found any solution around it, and we proceed in our ignorance to thinking that it is the good man, Peter Obi, the competent man, Peter Obi, that will become the replacement for the constitutional re-engineering that the situation demands. I tell you in all sincerity, and I'm sorry for what the outcome will be, because we could be counting tens of millions of people that the Fulani who are determined to take your land, having hijacked your sovereignty. Our fight now should be to recover our sovereignty, not for who will go to power. Our sovereignty is on the table. We can take it back and begin to rework our relationships. But if we don't, the Fulani already encircled the entire place. They will take it by force and by the conquest. It will be a matter of conquest. Under international law, conquest is the best basis of title. So don't imagine that anybody will come to listen to you tomorrow, that Yoruba used to be here and the Joy used to be there. Igbo used to be here and TV used to be there. No, the Fulani is determined to press on with their conquest designs, which Ahmadu Bello announced in 1960 when he said that the Nigeria should be an estate of their great-grandfather Usman Dan Fodio. Buhari is driving that same. If you go to that Ahmadu Bello script, as you read it here, and you bring the map, the Nina's map, as you see, you will see the other map that is in 4 places. Place everybody who played one part or the other in how we landed in this 1999 Constitution on that map. You will then see how much the present Constitution represents the battle script of Ahmadu Bello of 1960 concerning how Nigeria should be. It will belong to the Fulani and whoever they admit. The middle belt they had used as what they call willing tools, people who are made to pretend to be northerner, and the south as a conquered territory. Unfortunately, what Obasanjo has done in regard to this matter, he was the one that enabled them in 1979. He was the one that validated the matter in 1999 for them. So he just emerges in our view as the head state from the south that enabled the conquest that's almost complete now. The rest of us must stand up. The rest of us must find the courage to tell the young people that there is an extraordinary emergency concerning the constitutional arrangement by which the winner of any election will govern, and the danger that lies ahead that this conquest may be completed before the date of the election in February 2023. I would think that if we want to save ourselves from the impending round of calamity, 30 years is here again. 1963, 1993, and we're talking about 2003. The elders in the land must now speak up. Those who do not know must find out before they speak, because there are people who are mobilizing for PVC all over the place. You do not know what the problem is. You think you know what you do not know. The young people who are leading the charge, thinking they are getting somewhere, let us stop for a moment and listen. There are other things that could be done that could save the situation that we're trying to save. The change you are pursuing, if you do not define it, you are going to get the kind of change we got in 2015. You are going to get the kind of calamity we got in 2020 when the EndSARS happened. Let this energy not be wasted. We praise you for trying to get PVC to vote and change. But it is not by election that we are going to get to that change. If we come together now against the prescription we already have on the table, comprehensive framework for solving that problem that has been there for over 60 years, we can solve it. If we choose to proceed in ignorance, the Bible already condemned the ignorant to perish. Our people are going to perish simply because we chose to work with ignorance instead of knowledge. I think we can leave it there.